Um, is it working? How can I tell if this is working? People can hear me already? Okay, great. I see people are saying we can hear. So I don't know if I should just wait a few more minutes before we start. Till some more people come on. Okay, I'm just waiting a few minutes. Okay, so someone was asking what you need. I'll go through it once I start properly, but in the meantime, I'll show you. If you're painting along with me, you need a canvas. This is what we're going to be painting. Is it centered well? Can you see it well? Yeah, this is what we're going to be painting, the Kaisel. And so you need just a plain white canvas, or if you don't have a canvas of paper or anything, the one I'm using is about A3, but A4 is good. And if you're using a paper, make sure it's like acrylic paper, something good, or even cardboard. Like if you're just doing it to have fun and you're not worried about it staying a long time, just anything to paint on it. You're gonna need, I'll go through all this again in a few minutes, but in the meantime, we're gonna need a really dark blue. Okay, the darkest blue you have, the one I've got here is Prussian blue, but any dark blue acrylic is the best. Red, like a normal primary red. This one's called cadmium red, I think. And a yellow. The one I've got here is called cadmium yellow. Again, the exact name is not important. And white, titanium white is the best, but whatever white you've got. And really, I use acrylic. It's what I advise the best, but really anything you use will be good. Okay, I'm just waiting. I'm going to wait another minute or two. Someone wrote, can we use quarters? I don't know what that means. Okay, just another half a minute, okay? And then I'm gonna go through all the equipment again, just in case some more people joined. Okay, oh, colors, can we use colors? You could use this, I'm showing you the colors that I used, okay? So really any colors you use is totally fine. I'm gonna show you all the things. I'm gonna show you again. I'm gonna go through again all the colors you need and exactly the equipment you need. And then we're gonna start. And every so often, I'm gonna check the questions. So if you see after a while I didn't answer your question, just answer it again. But try to really only ask questions that are relevant, so I don't get like it doesn't get too many for me to look through. Okay. Someone asked if we can use markers. I mean, what I'm showing you is the techniques to do this in a painting, but I mean, I don't see why you can't give it a go. It could work. It's not exactly the same because you can't layer markers the way we're going to layer this. So for example, you'll see soon how we start with like a underlayer of colors, and then we're going to paint bricks over it. We won't be able to do that. But if you've got your colors out and just sort of follow my tricks, but use your imagination, I think you'll be able to make something nice for sure. Okay, so I'm going to go through again quickly what you need. So what we need, if either a canvas like the one I've got here. I think I'm just gonna make it a drop lower. It looks a little bit high to me. There we go. Okay, so either just canvas like this. The one I've got is it's 30 by 40, if I'm not mistaken. It's about A3 size. So this is what we're making, and I'm gonna start on a blank canvas. You could use it on A4, you could do it on A2, like it really doesn't matter. And you, well, as I was saying before, you could definitely use acrylic paper or any paper, but acrylic paper will hold stronger for the paint, because if you use just normal paper, it will curl, and even like when it gets too wet, disintegrate. Then you need a variety of paint brushes. So I said to get 1 or 2 flat brushes, you see? So that's what a flat brush looks like. I've even got myself a third one just in case, but really 2 different sized flat brushes is okay. And 2 or 3 size round brushes. Now, if you don't have all of these, really, you're gonna be fine. Don't worry. Whatever you've got, you're gonna make work. And a small brush is always helpful, especially for the end when we're doing the little people. Okay, then you want a plate for mixing your paints on, or a piece of baking paper, or a piece of silver foil, just anything that you can pour your paints out onto. You need the darkest blue you can find. So that's the one I'm using is Prussian blue. Indigo is good. If you really don't have as dark as this, ultramarine is also okay. It's not as dark, but it's okay. You need some primary red. So we've got here, the one I'm using is cadmium red. You need some primary yellow. The one I'm using is cadmium yellow. And white, which titanium white is always your best option, but any white is okay. And you'll need a paper towel. I just always find like kitchen roll is the best because it really absorbs all the water well. But whatever you've got, a serviette or even just a normal tissue, it's fine. A cup of water. I have just these paint cups, but whatever, like any cup you use, just be careful to not drink it, because that has happened more than once. And I'm just gonna get here a pencil. Okay, just a normal, regular HB pencil. Okay, and make sure that it's sharpened. Okay, so are we ready? Are we ready to start? Trying to see if I can, I can't see the question. Oh, there we go. I see people are writing. Yes, they're ready. So, okay, someone's asked what we need for tomorrow. So if you can remind me at the end of this one, and I will, and like just before we finish, just remind me. And for whoever's joining tomorrow, I will, I'll quickly go through what you need. Okay, so I'm sorry, my pencil's broken. I'm quickly getting myself a working pencil. Sorry, just a moment, guys. Got my. So, okay, someone asked if we have to do it. No, you don't have to do it. It's totally fine to watch it and then do it another time in your own time and just get the ideas. But I'm going to be giving this over as if you're all doing it, because it's easier to learn like that. And I'll show you some really nice techniques, okay? So I'm going to just put this away. I'm going to put this one away. Okay, we're not going to watch it throughout. Every so often, I'll bring it up to the screen to show you what I'm talking about. But we are going to get started here on our Kaiser, okay? Okay, so to start with, we're going to have all the way, not all the way, about a third the way into the paint. Okay, I'm quickly going to answer questions. What kind of paint is it? I am using acrylic paints. Gouache is also okay. Acrylic is really the best. If you have oil paints, that's also fine. Watercolors will probably not work as well. Basically, your best is acrylic. second acrylic or oils. And second best is gouache or even poster paint if you're a mother and that's what you've got at home. That's perfectly cool. I'm gonna start with a pencil over here. We're gonna draw a line a third the way into the page, into the canvas. We're gonna do a line from about here to here. Okay, you can't see that at all on the screen, so I'm gonna draw it. We're gonna just draw a straight line like that, okay? So it doesn't reach the top, it doesn't reach the bottom, it's somewhere hanging in the middle, about a third the way from the left of the canvas. I assume you're not seeing it mirrored, right? So if it's the right, tell me. I think you're all seeing it correctly. Yeah. And then what we're gonna do is, we're gonna do from the top corner here, we're gonna create a illusion of perspective, okay? Perspective to show that it's getting further away from us. So we're gonna have, from the top of the line, a straight line going upwards, just uphill. And from the bottom of the line, a straight line going downhill. Okay, I'm gonna wait a second for whoever's joining us to do that. Okay. Okay. If anyone is joining along and thinks I'm going too fast, just write a message and we'll see how that goes. I'm going to do from the same corner over here, the same thing up to the other side, okay? I will point out, if you're joining along with me, it's always good for you to watch what I'm doing and then do it. Don't try to do it along with me at the same exact time, because then you miss what I'm doing because you're so busy looking at your canvas, you're not watching the screen. And someone just asked, does it reach the corners? It can, it doesn't have to. So you see with me, it didn't. If it reaches the corners, it's nice. If it doesn't, it's also nice. There's no right or wrong answer. And we're just doing the same the other way. A little bit uphill and a little bit downhill. See, whoops, this time it has reached the corner. Totally fine. This is uphill. I know it doesn't look it so much because of the way the canvas is leaning, but you see it goes uphill. Okay. And that is literally all we need to draw. We always try with paintings to draw as little as we can and do everything in painting. The drawing is literally just there as a guideline for us. And then we're not going to see any of their lines. So if you've made a mistake, first of all, trying to rub it out on a canvas, you can ruin the canvas. It doesn't always come off. So what I always tell my students to do is if you've done a mistake over here, let's say, and you're like, oh, whoops, I don't want that line. I just say, just make yourself a mark that one's a mistake, just scribble it out. You're going to paint over it. You're not going to see it. The lines are not there for anyone but yourself. And you don't need to, you don't need to worry about getting all the details in. Most of them we just get in with our paintbrush. It gives a much more organic, loose, nice feel rather than this stiff coloring in the lines every little bit. It's not, it doesn't look as, I don't know what the word is, but just as nice. Okay, so now I'm continuing. If anyone is like worried and wants me to wait, just tell me. I'm going to take my plate here and I'm going to start pouring out the colors I need. So for now, all I need is the navy blue, the dark blue. Here I've got Prussian blue. So I'm going to pour out. You don't need to have such big bottles as this. I'm just pouring out. Oops, sorry. You know, just a dollop like that. It's going to be plenty. If it's not enough later, I'll add. And I'm actually going to pour out all of my colors. Blue is the one I'm going to need the most of. Then I'm pouring out the red, which I'm struggling to open here. Here we go. So I'm going to pour out some red. Okay, so I've got like that. I always pour out my colors just before I need them, just in case, especially in this heat, they tend to dry really fast. In the winter, it's not such a problem, but in the summer, they dry so fast. So I try not to pour all my colors out too quickly, but just as I need them. with oils, you don't have that problem as much because it doesn't dry so quickly, but with acrylic and gouache and all other water-based paints, they do dry too quickly. So you don't want to take out too much at a time. Okay, so I've got here my 4 colors. The plate's not going to be on the screen the whole time, but don't worry about that. And then I'm going to take my thick flat brush, this one. Okay, so let me know when you're ready. Okay, just make sure it's a thick flat brush. If you don't have a thick flat brush, a thick round brush is totally fine too. Anything you use is fine. What do you mean? Can you repeat from the painting, please? Repeat which part? From, someone's asking, can you repeat from the painting, please? Do you mean which colors? Okay. Cool. Just my, okay, hold on. My paintbrush is a bit broken. Let me just get myself a new big fat one. Okay, I've got this. Okay, I think she meant the colors. So the colors that I've got is a dark blue. Okay, I'm going to say it one more time. Whoop. A dark blue. The one I've got is Prussian blue, but ultramarine is okay. Indigo is good. I'm trying to think what other names it could be. Even phthalo blue, like spelled PTHALO. Then we've got the cadmium red or any kind of red, the cadmium yellow, and the titanium white, or any white that you've got. And if someone wanted to just see the painting again, I'm going to quickly show that one more time. Okay, so this is what we're making. Okay. All right, let's start painting the sky. So when we paint, I'm going to give you some tips as we go along to help you. When we paint, we always paint from the back to the front. So that way it really helps to create the illusion of depth. If we paint forward to backwards, it confuses the eye somehow. Something looks wrong. We don't know, like, it's a psychological thing that when the paint is behind, when one paint is behind the other, it looks like it's actually physically behind it. So I'll just quickly show you what I mean here. We've got the sky was painted first, and the sky was painting first. Don't mix any of the colors yet, okay? The sky was painted first and then the wall. So the wall now looks like it's in front of the sky. If I had painted the wall first and then the sky, it would look kind of confusing, like, is the sky really behind the wall or not? So that's why we always want to paint back to front. And then so we paint this, and either of this, these are about the same, so it doesn't matter. Then these pillars, and then the floor. That way we're really working our way forward, and then the very last will be the people. Okay, so let's go with the sky. So we're not mixing, we're not going to do very much mixing on the plate. In general, I don't do mixing on the plate. I really like to mix it on the canvas and let it see what's happening. Sometimes in some paintings we have to mix on the plate, on the palette, or whatever it is you're using. I personally am a fan of just doing it straight hand. This one is not gonna, yeah, this one's gonna be fine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of our blue, okay? And we are going to paint the sky. Now we wanna add some atmosphere. So if you see, I'm just painting in any sort of direction. I'm not worried about it all being in the same direction like they taught us in primary school to make sure it's all the same direction. In some cases I am. In other paintings, I'm just saying, I don't want you to all think these are rules for every painting. There's no right or wrong way. And if you do fancy making it tidy and all in one way, this is your work of art. I'm just showing you how I do it. Okay, so we're just gonna do it all over the place. So I'm not sure if it's coming up in the camera. I'm gonna bring this a little closer so you can see how the brushwork is going. You really see the brushworks, even though there's no shading yet. It's all just one color. And also what's really important here is don't worry about going over the line that you've drawn. What we really don't want is someone to try to make this perfect straight line here, because what ends up happening is you do that, and then when you paint this, you end up with a bit of a white gap in between. It just doesn't look natural. So it's just better to cover this up. Everything, even when you paint out the lines, we're going to straighten it off soon when we paint the next layer. And also, like I told you before, those lines are just a guideline for you to use. They're not there to be seen in the end. So you really don't need to worry about it being shown. Okay. I'm going to fill the whole sky in. So the brush I'm using is a wide flat brush. Flat means like that. You see, so if I hold it sideways, it becomes thin. You see? I'll just show you to compare. This is a round brush. See the difference? Okay. If you don't have a flat brush, I'll repeat. If you don't have a flat brush, just use the round one. Totally fine. This is just how I'm doing it. This is art. Art, there's no rules. There's no right or wrong. You can use different colors. I've had people do this with the sky in purple. You can use this technique, but make yourself a sunset. I don't know. Go wild, have fun. Make this yours. Okay, fill in the whole sky. And I'm just going to give the next instruction before I give you a break, because it is important that this next part is done with whilst the paint's still wet. I'm going to just rinse my brush a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfectly clean. And whenever I'm taking another color and my brush is not clean, I'm really careful to take only from the side of the paint, because I'm going to take right from the middle. If I take right from the middle, I'll make my whole red blue. Whereas if I take just from the side, so the side's a little blue, but the rest is clean. So then my red is still usable. So I'm just going to take a tiny little red. This is even too much. I'm just dabbing a bit of it off. And I'm just going to add a few red strokes inside to add some drama and excitement to the sky. I'm even going to wash it off. Sorry, on there. I'm going to wash it off. Whenever you hear this banging noise, I don't know if you can hear it, that's me cleaning my brush. I'm going to also dry it a little bit if it's too wet. So you do want your paintbrush wet, and the reason we want the water is to get your paint to the right consistency. My paints are quite watery today, the ones I'm using, so I'm not using a lot of water. But if you're finding your paint is a bit too thick, just wet your paintbrush a little bit. You'll see it'll make a really big difference. And I'm going to add some yellow strokes to the sky too. Not too much, don't worry, it will turn green. So that's why we don't want it too much. We don't want our sky to look green. Okay. So I'm just going to bring this closer, I'm trying to see if you can see. Can you see how the red and the yellow are just adding a little bit of excitement, a bit of movement to the sky? So I'll show you in the original. I will say the original is always a bit more detailed. It's just the way it is, because whilst I'm demonstrating, that's why I want you to keep seeing the original, because whilst I'm demonstrating, it's really hard for me to get the details right. So you can see this is what you're aiming for. So you see how there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of, just from those colors, it adds feeling, I think. Okay, so when you're all ready, I'm going to wait another minute or two. When you're all ready, we're going to paint these two lights over here. It's not the sun, it's like a light up there, I guess a street light or something. I'm not even sure. If someone knows, they can say. Okay, so I'm going to wait a minute or two for those who are joining along to do that. Okay, if there's any questions, I'm just watching the chat here. So if anyone has questions, then just let me know. Okay, you see someone's asking me to paint a little bit. There we go. Someone says that those two lights is because the coastal is glowing so much it gives a glow to the sky, which is definitely true. That's probably why we've got all the colors there and everything. There's still two lights. If when we do it, if you want, you can do just one. But we'll see. And yeah, I'm just gonna wait a minute or two. Okay, when the one who said, do you mind to wait a little bit? When you're ready, let me know if it's taking a bit long. It's not taking too long, but now it's okay. Just let me know when you're ready. Okay, some people are saying they're ready. I think we're gonna continue because this next part is helpful when the underlayer is ready, is a little bit wet still, but if it's not, it's also fine. And I'm gonna take now one of my round brushes. This is not my biggest round brush, but it's a fairly big one. It might be about the size of your biggest. It depends on what set you got. If anything's not clear or anything, just please tell me if you can't see something clearly. Okay, so we're gonna do, someone's asked for an art loft tour. It's a bit, I'll give you a little bit of a tour, but it's a little bit not so presentable now, but I'll show you the presentable parts soon. So what we've got is the lights we were talking about. So my paint's already dried a bit here. That's just because it's really, really hot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the white paint over here. Again, even though my paintbrush is dry, I like to just get in the habit of always taking from the side so that I don't forget ever. If I take from the middle, then I'm always scared I'll dirty the whole color and then I'll need to take away. It's just a way of saving. That's really it. So you don't have to keep adding more paint because you've dirtied all your white and your white's all blue or your white's all red now. Like this, if you're always taking from the side, most of your white stays dry. It stays clean, especially with white. This is important. The lighter the color, the more important this is. But even with blue, it's just what a good habit to get into when you're painting. So we're going to make a little white circle. If you're using titanium white, you'll really see that it doesn't blend into the background because it's a good strong color. If it's not titanium, if you're using a different type of white, it might blend into the background a little bit. Just use more paint, lay on the paint really nice and thick. Then I'm going to just slightly wet my paintbrush. You see my water's already dirty. I don't know if you can see it's quite blue already, but that's totally fine. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect too much. And just with a slightly wet paintbrush, it's even a bit too wet, so I'm going to dry it a bit. Slightly wet paintbrush. I'm just going to dab around the edges to make it look like it's glowing. So you see, because I'm just barely touching the white as I do this, so it's schlepping it out a little bit and making it look like it's glowing. You see? Okay, so I'm going to do that a second time actually, because there's two, so you get to watch twice. If you got it already, just do it. If you didn't get it, just watch again and then do it. Really try to watch and then do rather than do it along with me, because it will just make it easier for you. You won't miss things. So I'm going to do over here again, another circle. I'm really laying on the paint quite thick. I'm going to show you close how there's the camera. You see the paint actually bumps up a little bit. It's really quite thick. Okay. And then again, I'm going to just wipe off the extra paint, whatever. I've still got quite a lot of paint on there. I don't want that. I'm just going to wipe it off a bit, wet my brush a tiny bit and dry it. And then with my slightly damp paintbrush, just schlep the white paint that's already there. Now this time I did it on a yellow brush stroke, so it got a bit of yellow in it. Totally fine. In fact, it's quite cool. It makes it really look like it's glowing yellow. So that's really nice. Just any accidents that happen, turn them to your advantage, make them work. There's no such thing as a completely messed up painting. If something is really wrong, you can just paint over it, but always wait till it's dry. Let me just quickly say that if you realize you made a mistake and you want to cover it up, wait till it's dry. That is super important. So many times I have students who they're trying to fix a mistake, and especially when the mistake is with a dark color, but also with a light color, and they paint over and over and over, and then they end up with just mud. It just all mixes together. Wait till the layer's dry, the mistake is dry before fixing anything. Okay, and that way you can just cover it up without mixing all the colors and getting a muddy color. Okay, so that's to do the two lights. I'm gonna wait till one or two people have reacted on if they're ready. Yeah. Okay, someone said that she's done. Ready. Okay, a few people are messaging me they're ready. I think we're ready for the next part. So what we're going to do next is this wall here. 1 minute. This wall. So not the main kite, this wall. Before you all freak out when you're doing this one, you're going to find it harder. It's not hard. It's really, if you just follow this step by step, it's really not going to be difficult, but it's the most difficult part of the painting. So don't let this stress you out for the rest. Once this is done, it's gonna be a breeze from here on out, but it's really not hard. Don't worry about it. Okay, so we're gonna start with these buildings up here at the top, okay? So we're gonna take back our flat brush, okay? Always when you finish using a brush, make sure to clean it, because if the paint that you were using dries up, then the paintbrush becomes stiff and hard to use. And when it completely dries, it's impossible to use. You have to throw it away. So it's really good practice to always wash your paintbrush between using it in case it dries till the next time you need it. And we're going to take the blue paint. Now, before I take, I want to show you, because we're using a flat brush, we're able to use it to our advantage to create a straight line. So I'll show you what I mean. If I want to make a fat line, I could just go like that, okay? But if I want to make a straight line, I just turn it 90 degrees and I make myself a straight line, a thin, you see how the top of that is really nice and straight. So I can really use that to help me. It's actually easier than using a thin brush, which most people would automatically want to use. So that's really useful. And we're gonna take some blue paint, okay? And we're gonna do a building that's over here. It's gonna go even higher than the line that we drew. Now it's gonna mix with the sky. It's gonna blend in with the sky and you're not gonna be able to see it clearly. Don't worry about it. We're gonna fix that in a second, okay? And we're gonna just do this till about a fifth of the way down the building, or maybe a quarter, no right or wrong way. And this time, remember before we went out the lines, this time we want a really sharp line, okay? Because this time we're not covering it up again. So we want this top line here to be really sharp. And what you're gonna do is to make sure that it's visible, and make the tiniest little bit of white on the tip of your paintbrush. Okay, if you don't have a flat brush, do this with a thin brush. I'll hold it against this. You can see there's the tiniest little bit of white on there. A little bit of white goes a long way. Even though it's white, you think it's a light color, especially if you're using titanium white, it really goes a long way. And we're going to just sort of outline the top of this. It's going to sort of blend in, which is what we want. I've just turned it over to get white from the other side. Okay, just sort of outlining it. So now I can really see where the top of that building is. Can you see that? Okay. I mean, I'm going to drag it down a bit. You don't have to get too fancy. Okay. It doesn't matter if you painted something that wasn't made to be painted. I assume you mean you've gone a bit ahead. There's no problem. Like I said before, there's no such thing as a mistake. So everything can be covered up. And if you've just gone ahead because you've worked out what to do, totally fine. Or if you're not sure if you've done it right, join along when it gets to that part. See if you can cover it up. You can almost always fix what you've done. I hope I've answered your question. Okay, so once this is done, I'm gonna just clean this brush now. Now, it's really hard for me to know what size brushes you're using, but my one is a bit too fat for this next part. So for this next part, I'm going to use a thinner flat brush. So just to show you, it's not a massive difference, but this is the one I've been using till now. See, trying to get like a good light shot. And this is the one I'm going to use. You see how it's just a little bit thinner? I'm going to use that to make the bricks. So on this building, I'm just going to add a really little bit of yellow because I want these bricks to sort of have a greenish glow. So a tiny bit of yellow, I'm even going to wet it a little bit. Okay, you're going to have to figure out, according to how thin your paints are, how much you want to wet it. And I'm just going to make some really, using my flat brush, I'm going to see if you can see this well, little rectangles that sort of look like bricks. Okay, each brush stroke is like a brick. And this is actually going to be the key to this whole painting. So make sure these rectangles are parallel to the direction of the wall. Okay, so let me bring this a bit closer. Can you see that clearly enough? Good. Okay, yeah, you can see it. Very good. And then we're going to quickly, there's going to be, you'll see there'll be a lot of repetition. So in the beginning, I'm going slow, and then eventually I'm just going to speed up a little bit where it's easier because you'll sort of know what we're doing. Okay, so once we've got bricks on here, we are going to add windows to this building. We're not going into too much detail with these buildings because it's not the focus. The focus is the Kaisel. Okay, so I'm going to clean up my brush because I want this same brush that I used for the bricks for the next part. This is now, we're going to use this quite a lot right now. And I'm going to take some of our dark blue back, okay? And the same way we used the brush stroke to make a brick, we're going to now use a brush stroke to make a window, okay? So I'm going to make 1, 2 rectangles. Now, just by making one sweep of brush stroke, I've got a rectangle. And just because I'm not sure how hard it is for you to see, I'm going to make sure you can see it. And you should do this too with taking the tiniest little bit of white again on our brush and just frame it on 2 sides. 2 sides is really enough. Gives it the illusion of being 3D. Okay, can you see that? Oops, I'm going to add a bit more white to that because I don't know if it's showing up. To me, the camera looks quite dark. Does it look dark to you, or can you see it? Okay, you see? Okay, and we're going to do the same on the other one. And that's just that little detail of adding the white shine makes the whole window, even the side that we didn't add the shine, makes the whole thing look 3D. You see what I'm saying? Okay, if you notice here, I made this building specially higher. If you didn't make it higher, don't worry about it. Let's just wait a second for you to get the windows done. Okay, someone's asked me to bring the canvas closer. Okay, I guess it all depends on what device you're watching it from. Okay, and I'm going to show the done painting again. Like I said before, the one that I did has a bit more detail, so that's why it's good for you to see it every so often. You see? But it's just while showing, and I'm backwards, you know. So this is what up here is what I've done now. And down here is what the original one looks like. Okay. Then, okay, now we're going to do this little building here, which is really simple. We're going to, once again, base it with our blue. You can decide which brush you're going to use now. Doesn't make such a difference. I'm going to go with the fatter one again. And before I forget, quickly rinse the thinner one. We're going to use it again in a minute, but just always wash the paintbrush in between. It's always useful. Okay, so we're going to take some make sure my paintbrush is not too wet. You want it wet. You want your paint wet, but you don't want it so wet that it's drippy, because then that's what drips, and then it's not opaque. Then you can see the canvas between through. So we're going to take some of this dark blue again, and we're going to make this other building over here, but this time, so the building we did till now has a sort of green look. This building that we're doing, we're going to go for a more purple look. If you've got purple paint, you can actually use it, but the idea here was that I was going to show you to do this with just primary colors. So we're going to get the purpley look just with the primary colors. So if you noticed, I've made this one a drop shorter just to add dimension. If you make both buildings the same height, that's cool too. And I'm going to, again, use the flat side of the brush with a drop of white to outline the top. Whoops. See, I originally put a drop too much paint on, so I just spread it in the right direction. You see, look, I've got a blob of white paint there that I don't want. So I'm just spreading it away without letting it get out of hand. So now we can see a second building. And to make it the purpley look, so we saw obviously blue and yellow makes green. We all know that. So blue and red makes purple. I'm going to take a drop of my red. I now need to remember to switch back to my thin brush. So cleaning this one, going back to my thin brush. And I'm going to make some red brick, but make sure that it's wet. Make sure that the red is wet, so it's sort of see-throughish red, so it will give a purple look. So I'm just, what's the best angle? Like that. I'm going to just do some watery red bricks. So that just differentiates between the two buildings to look, because there's loads of buildings there behind that side wall. Okay, I'm not going to wait too long because I think you all get the idea. Just wait like a couple of minutes. It's just repeating itself over and over. Okay, and now we're going to get, so I'm going to show you again over here, and we're going to do this wall here. Okay, and also I am going to simplify it a little bit, just because over here the colors are a bit all over the place. I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with an underlayer. I'll show you exactly what I mean. We're going to start with an underlayer of red going to orange going to yellow over here, and then we're going to put the bricks over that, and then we're going to put the pillars, and then the little tunnels and windows at the same time. Okay, so to start with, it's really simple. Is we're going to take back the fatter brush. And again, if you use the thinner ones, that's fine. We're going to take back the fatter brush, and we're going to take some red paint now. Okay, and because we're still going to paint this later, we totally don't mind to go over this line. Later, once we paint this, we want to sharpen that line. But right now, we're happy to go over that line. It's even a better thing to do because then the paint can overlap, so we're sure that we're not leaving any white paint behind. So with that in mind, I'm going to just do, also going a bit over this one up here to make sure I don't, this building up here, to make sure I don't end up with white space. Okay, that was a bit wet yet still, so it ended up purple. We're just going to go with it. We're going to let that be purple. Doesn't have to be, but we're going to go with it. And I'm going down there, and I'm going to do about a third of this wall in red. But if you see, I'm pulling it from the middle to the out to the edge of the painting, but in the direction of the wall. So because of the perspective, the direction changes as I go up. So it's going down over here towards the middle, it's going straight. And then as I go up, it's going uphill. You see? So that really always the directions of your brush strokes. Also, it's something that the viewer, even without realizing, is using these little bits of information to give them a clue of what direction the thing that they're looking at is. Okay, so it's all about creating illusion. So just by making the brush strokes in the right direction, it's really going to help with the perspective, the 3Dness, like the wall is going away from us. Okay, I've just gone a bit over a third, but not a half, not too much. Okay. And then I'm gonna wipe off any excess paint, clean my brush. Doesn't have to be perfect though. Doesn't have to be completely clean. Okay. And I would advise just wait before you do this, because you'll miss. Wait till I've gotten to the end of this before you start doing it, because you're going to miss and it will then be confusing. So now I want orange, but we don't have orange. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow from the corner. Again, always from the corner in case my brush isn't properly cleaned. And I'm going to start from the red and pull it out to make an orange section. So I'm doing exactly the same thing, but because I'm starting on some wet red paint, it's becoming orange. This is why I'm showing this all in one go, because it's super important that the red doesn't dry. Otherwise, you're not going to end up with an orange. Now, if you see, it's not a smooth transition. There's like lighter bits and darker bits, which is exactly what we want. Don't go for much too smooth. Or you can. I'm not going for much too smooth. I'm just trying to find the best angle where you can all see every bit. And I'm just going till about 2/3. And this line up here, I want kind of straight. Doesn't have to be perfect, but kind of straight, because this is the top of a wall. Okay. And then I'm going to this time clean my brush even better. Really make sure that most of the paint is off, because for the yellow, we do not want too much red coming in at all. And this time, because we want it to really stay yellow, we're going to work the other way around. So I'm going to take yellow from the side again. Okay. And I'm going to pull in from the side of the canvas in. Now, if a bit of orange does go on the yellow, that's totally fine, even good if a tiny little bit goes in, because we don't want it to be too flat. If it would be just perfect, the yellow, it would just look too flat. So don't worry if a bit of orange goes in, but overall, it should really look yellow. It should look like yellow with orange streaks. It shouldn't look like orange. Okay, so once you've got the idea of what I'm saying, you could start doing this already. I'm just going to finish this and check out your questions. Oh, I forgot to say, if anyone wants to paint the sides of their canvas, that's totally cool. Just make sure you do it as you go along. I'm not painting the sides, but if you do it as you go along. So for example, if you would be painting the sides now, you'd want to paint yellow here, blue here too, and blue along the top. Okay, so you'd want to make sure to match it so it really looks like it's folding around the canvas. And if you decide to do the sides, do it all the way around. Keep remembering about that. Okay. Okay. Okay, someone said they by mistake did it completely. What should I do? Completely what? If you did it completely one color, don't worry about it. If it's then just wait till, like I said before, wait till it dries and then try to do the other color on top. If you're going to try to do yellow on red, that's going to be really hard because yellow is lighter than red. You're probably going to end up with just red and orange. So then, but that's fine. Just go with it. Just let it be just red and orange. If you've done it all yellow, it's going to be really easy to do the red over the yellow. So don't worry. Just go with the mistake. Wait for your red. Wait a couple minutes for your red to really dry. Which, I mean, I think by you it's almost as hot as here, I assume. So it should dry quite quick. And then do the yellow over. And if you've got a good titanium white, it would help if you mix a little bit of your titanium white, because titanium white, although it's a light color, it's a very opaque color. So it does help if you add a little bit of your white to your yellow, it will turn your yellow into a little bit more opaque. So it will be easier to cover it over the red. Okay. Did that answer your question? The one who was worried about doing it all one color? And anyone else, if you've got other questions, we'll wait a couple of minutes because this is quite a big section to cover. So maybe it takes a while. Okay, are we good? Okay, great. I'm going to wait another minute or two. Oh, no. So someone asked if you use water whilst using oil paints. That's a really good question. You do not. I should have said that at the beginning. I didn't realize some people would be using. Oil and water don't mix. So if you're using oil paints, you should be using oil. The best is to use linseed oil if you've got. If you don't, just use kitchen oil. And turpentine, it's a whole nother lesson on itself. So I'm just going to say, just stick with oil, with whatever oil you've got. Best is linseed oil, but if you don't, just use canola oil or whatever you've got and use that to thin out the paint. Especially with oil, you might find it's really too thick. So make sure to thin it using oil. Okay, if one or two people text me that they're ready, then I'll move on. And if anyone texts me to wait, then I'll wait. So I'm seeing no waiting. Oh, yeah, people are saying they're ready. Okay, yeah, looks like people are ready. Quite a lot of people look ready. Really good. Okay, so we're gonna add the bricks now. Okay, so if you see, we're gonna. Okay, no, you didn't miss anything. We're gonna add the bricks now onto this. Okay, we're gonna add the bricks before we even do the pillars because, like I said before, we're working back to front. We'll cover up wherever we need to, but by working back to front, it will really help. If we do this first and then the bricks, then we won't have any bricks going behind the pillars. Okay. So to do the bricks, I'm gonna just quickly rinse this brush again because I'm not using it. I'm gonna keep saying that because it's super important. It's not even perfectly clean, but as long as it's wet, it's not gonna dry out so quickly. I'm gonna take my thinner brush again. And I'm gonna use that to make bricks again. So what I want is kind of more or less to have red on red, orange on orange, yellow on yellow, but that doesn't work completely because then you don't see it. If you paint red on red, you don't actually see it. So what I'm going to do is let me show you. I'm going to take a little bit of red paint over here. Okay, just a little bit. And I'm going to make some bricks, okay, like we made over here. But remember, we're going in the direction of the perspective. So down here, we'll be going this way. Towards the middle, it will be going straight. And then towards the top, it will be going uphill a little bit. I'll just do it straight so you see how it does go kind of uphill. I'm making these bricks. Now, you can hardly see them, but I'm going to make those bricks go over the orange section. And suddenly you can see them. You see? Now on the red section, I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow paint into them, just a tiny bit. Just that little bit brings out the bricks that you see them over the red. Okay, now there's no right or wrong in here. If you even want to do some blue bricks, that's fine. And what's really nice is to add some white bricks too, especially on the yellow. Look how that really makes the whole thing glow. And you can just kind of do them all over the place. And then like I've just gone on here, so I've got some red paint now on here, just by picking up from there. So I'll just put that there. So we've still kind of got it transitioning from red to yellow, but the colors do still mix. For some, does it look? Those are not white. They are. Red. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to add some red bricks all over. Just you see, I'm doing them by just pulling the paintbrush. And they don't need to be too clear. Even if we just kind of get the impression of bricks, just the look, then our brains are really smart like that. If they just get a little hint of what's going on, they fill in all the blanks, they work it out. So we don't even need to go into too much detail. Okay. I really like how the white looks on the yellow, but I'm not going to do too much because I do want to have some white behind the pillars. So I'm going to just cover some of these whites with yellows, and it will just, you'll still see it because it's a lighter yellow. You see, so I'm just going over some of the bricks till they're a nice sort of glowing color. Okay, so do that. That's it, exactly the point. Someone's written, so easy with amazing effect. That's the point, that you want to do something that's really not too hard, really nice and simple. Just do a few little tricks and you let the viewer fill in all the blanks, and it just looks like you've got this fabulous artwork, and all you've done is it's just a few brush strokes. It's essentially, it's an optical illusion that's a lot easier than it looks, and that's why you're all able to do it. Okay. Okay, so when the bricks are done, I'm going to wait a minute or two for the bricks to get done. Okay, I'm always just going to ask for a few people. When I get like 2 or 3 people messaging me they're ready and no one said wait, then I'll continue. Someone asked for the original again. There you go. So it's not identical, but I've just tried to make it simpler than this. But you see the transition of red to orange to yellow, kind of in the background. A lot of it gets covered with the pillows, but it's there. And you see the bricks. If you look really closely, you see all the bricks there. Okay. Okie dokes. And then we're gonna do the pillars. But just before we do the pillars, if you see there's this white shine behind them. They sort of add some reflective light and it adds a glow. So we're going to do those because, again, I'm going to keep repeating this, working back to front. So actually the glow is behind the pillars. Even though you think you would do it first because you need the pillar to have the pillar glowing, but we have to plan in advance. It's like when you're painting an object, you always paint the shadow before the object because the object is sitting on the shadow. So it's the same thing with the glow. You're going to paint what's behind it, which is the glow, before you paint the pillars. So we're going to imagine where our pillars are going to go, and really don't worry about getting it exactly right because you're going to cover up half of it anyway. And as you can, I'm just cleaning my brush again. I want it really clean, but like doesn't have to be perfect, but pretty clean. I'm going to take some white and I'm going to guess where my 2 pillars are going. And so let's say I'm imagining there's going to be one over here and it goes about 3/4 of the way up. We want to make sure we leave space for those windows there. So we're going to just make a whole like cluster of white bricks over here, but don't overdo it. We still do want to see the red behind it or orange or whatever it is where you're painting. And we'll do that for both. So you see, I've really done it light. Okay, I'm adding water to it to make it nice and see-through, and I'm going to do it here also. I'm going to make sure to leave space for the tunnels that's coming here soon. They're a really important part, the integral part of the castle actually. So make sure to leave space for that. So I'd say probably around, there's going to be 2 finger spaces here. I'm going to leave, maybe even a bit more, and I'm going to do the glow from the next pillar. Okay, now if you'll notice, oh, this is with the flat brush still. Most of this painting is going to be with a flat brush, actually. I always just tell everyone to have the round brush with them because it's just useful. We're going to use the round brush a little bit later, but this, because it's all these bricks and everything, most of it's with a flat brush. Again, if you prefer to do this with a round brush, it does work. It's just, this is my method, this is the way I do it, and it works for me. If you notice, this pillar is going to be taller than this pillar only because of perspective, only because this one's a bit nearer. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're painting it, and clean the white off your brush. I think you should be ready by now. So we're going to take now a flat brush. Now it really depends on the size of your brush for this. I'm going to use my fatter flat brush, the wider one. So this one, not this, just because this is kind of the right width for what we're doing. Watch what we're doing and then decide for yourself which one you're using. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some blue paint. Okay. My brush is a bit too wet, so I'm just going to quickly dry it on the tissue. And then I'm going to take some blue paint. Okay, as you notice, I'm the whole time taking from the side, leaving the middle a nice big mountain, because when I take, it smooths out the paint and it really dries up. But as long as it's in a pile, it takes much too long to dry. So that's another reason why we always want to take from the edge and not from the middle. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of blue paint. I'm not overloading my brush. I never want to overload my brush, because the more paint there is on the brush, the harder it is to control. But you at the same time want, see, I've only put it on one side of the brush. You see over here, I've got paint, over here there's none. And also, the more paint there is on the brush, the harder it is to have control. But at the same time, you also want enough paint to get a nice smooth flow. So I'm going to start from the top of the glue here, of where I've done this glue, and I'm just going to make a rectangle just by doing a big brush stroke, and I'm going to let that taper off halfway down. I'm going to do, I actually want this a drop wider, so I'm going to do it again next to it. According to the size of yours, you can decide how wide you think it's going to be. Okay, I'm going to let it taper off. Okay, so you see how at the top it's nice and sharp, at the bottom it sort of blends away. I'm going to clean. I'm going to do one at a time, so that then once I've done one, people can go and start. And then I'm going to take some red paint, but I've only just wiped off the paint. I haven't cleaned my brush too much for this part, so I'm taking some red again from the side, not too much. And I'm going to do the rest of the rectangle from the bottom to the top. Make sure you start in a good place that it's going to meet. And I'm going to go down again, so I do want my red to get a bit, I don't want it to stay pure red, let's just say. And we're going to add a bit of yellow to that too, just for drama, just for, you know, movement or whatever the word is. And we're going to end up with something like that. Okay, so let me just show you the original. In the original, we've got like red, then the blue at the top going down to the red. So it's this front face of the pillar that we're doing. Okay, so if you got that idea, if you understood already, go ahead and start and do both pillars the same. Just make sure that the second pillar is bigger. I'm going to show you all, for anyone who didn't get it, I'm going to show you the second one, but make sure the second one starts higher. And I did forget to mention something, 1 second. I'm going to say that in a second. This one starts a little bit higher because it is nearer. Make sure this is the one that's higher, the one that's nearer the edge of your paper. And only just fractionally higher, but it makes a difference. Okay, again, I'm going to let it taper off. I'm going to clean my brush a little bit, take a bit of red, and we'll work from bottom up. Now, what I forgot to mention before is that it goes into the floor a little bit, because it's 3D, it's sticking out. You see how it sticks out off the wall? Okay, so you do need it to go down into the floor a little bit. Okay, and make sure the bottom meets the top. Okay, and make sure it's as wide. This one can also be marginally wider because it's nearer. And as I said, things that are nearer are bigger. So they're also wider. Adding a bit of yellow to it too, just to add some movement, some glow, whatever you want it to be. Okay. So we've got the two pillars there. At the moment, they look really flat. So I'm going to wait a minute and then we're going to get it 3D. Okay, we all good? Okay, let me know if there's any questions, how it's going. No one's written that they're ready yet, so I'm going to wait until 1 or 2 people write it, unless someone writes to please wait, and then I will. Ready? People are ready. Very good. Got a few readies. Unless someone tells me to wait, I'm going to carry on. Okay, it looks like you're all ready. So now we want to make it 3D. So I'm going to start. I'm actually switching. I'm making it's super confusing because I keep switching to the wider brush and the thinner brush. I'm using the thinner brush now. Don't let it stress you out if you're not sure which brush I'm using. Just use whichever one you feel like. There's no real right or wrong. Someone has just written wait. So I'm going to wait in a second. I'm just going to show you. For this next one, I'm going to be using a white one. A thinner one. Okay, so I'll just quickly clean my wide brush whilst we wait a minute. Okay, I think I'm gonna continue already. It's always the fine balance of waiting till everyone's ready so no one gets stressed out that they're being left behind, but also people who are ready, I don't want them to get bored and waiting. So I try to keep the balance here. So I think we've waited. If you're not ready, stop what you're doing a second and watch this next part because it is important. And then go back to what you were doing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take with my thinner flat brush. Again, this works with the round brush, this works with the fatter one too. It's just, this is what I'm advising. With my thinner flat brush, I'm taking just white, but I actually don't want my white to be too clean. So I'm gonna, if your white is a bit dirty, that's actually a good thing. Mine, because I'm just so used to keeping it clean, I've kept it super clean here. So I'm just gonna kind of accidentally pick up a bit of whatever color there is, but then I'm gonna go back to white so that it's really basically white. And I'm gonna make a parallelogram. I think I always confuse parallelogram with trapezium, but I'm pretty sure there's a parallelogram at the top of our pillars going towards the left. So leaning towards the edge of our painting, okay? So I'm just gonna hold my paintbrush. I want the top of it to be parallel to this. And I'm just gonna drag it down like that. So you see how I've got this parallelogram going on there? Okay, so again, just from there, drag it and drag it. So just by doing 2 brush strokes, I've actually made myself a parallelogram. And I'm going to use the flat side of this brush with a tiny bit of blue to just give that an outline, just to make it pop more. You see it's so little, I'm just using the same, but I'm not even re-topping up at all. Okay, so you'll see that. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to do the sides of this. Now, what we want for this side is all the same colors as here. So blue going down to red with a bit of yellow in, but with just the tiniest little bit of white inside. Okay, so it's the same colors, but because it's facing the lighter side, so it's going to have a tiny bit of white. I'll show you what I mean. Actually, I'm not going to show you the original because I'm changing it up a little bit from the original. I think I'm making this a bit better. Okay, so I'm going to take a bit of blue. Okay, I'm going to just, like I said, I don't mix it on the paper so much. These lines are just me wiping my brush off. Sometimes I brush on here, sometimes on the tissue. Taking a bit of blue paint with just a drop of white at the edge, a tiny little bit of white. Okay, and I'm going to just fill in from here all the way till the edge of my parallelogram. And you see how the colors mix on my paper. Okay, I'm going to try and get a nice straight line all the way. I'm going to go down till where I tapered off the blue before. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, this time I'm going to do them both side by side because it is actually easier and I don't have to keep cleaning my brush. So I've got the blue anyway on my brush. Instead of cleaning it, I'm going to do this part, but I do want to work quite quickly because I don't want this one to dry too much before I get to it. Okay. Let me see what I'm doing. Okay, tapering it off, cleaning my brush. Okay, a bit of red mixed with the tiniest little bit of white. See, so it's red, and at the tip I've put a bit of white, and it's going to mix on the canvas, and I'm going to do it up here, but just be careful. What we want is this corner here, okay? You want a line from this corner till where it meets the corner of the wall, because remember how this one went down a little bit? So we want here there to be a line, and that's what's going to create the 3D look. So I'm just going to show you the original because I did a better job of that on the original. It might be clearer to you. Just a moment, let me finish this. So over here, you can really see how I've gone from this corner up to the corner of this wall here, you see? And that just helps the whole thing pop out. Okay. In fact, I'm going to make this one come a bit further down because it doesn't really make so much sense. I'm going to make this one come down already. I'm going to add some blue to that to make it darker to match the rest of its side. Sorry if this has confused you. If you have no idea what I just did, don't do it. If you worked it out, don't do it. Okay, I'm just cleaning because I've got blue on my brush now, which I really don't want for this side. I'm going to clean it again. I'm going to take again some red with the tiniest little bit of white. And so now you see it clearer. I'm going from the corner of the pillar to the corner of the wall. I'm joining them up and then making that go up to meet that blue that I tapered off before. Okay, going to add a tiny bit of yellow to that. Voila. The yellow is almost not seen. I could get away with a bit more yellow than that. See? And there we have the two pillars that look nice in 3D. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. If you're not sure what to do, please ask me if you've missed something, but I'm going to wait now a few minutes. And always remember, if I'm going on to the next point and you weren't ready yet, I'm trying to wait, but then do stop what you're doing and watch so that then you know what the next step is when you get to it. And don't stress out, take your time. No, we're finishing this today. Tomorrow is a different painting. This wall takes the longest time. Don't worry. The fact that this is taking long shouldn't put you off and make you think that we're not going to finish it today. We're finishing this today. Okay. Then, and if yours doesn't look anything like mine, you're all your own artist. Just because it doesn't look like mine doesn't mean it doesn't look beautiful. I can't see it, but I'm sure it's great. If you're following the rules, every artist is themselves. We're gonna do now the two tunnels and the windows, which we're gonna do together. So for the tunnel, almost together. For the tunnels, we're gonna make a quarter circle from the panel, okay? From the panel over here, from the pillar, till the corner of the wall, okay? Just the outline of it, okay? Gonna do it on both. This one would probably be a bit bigger because like we said, it's nearer. And then we're gonna fill it in with white paint. Now actually this I am gonna switch to our round brush because we have, because it's more detail. I'm gonna take a tiny bit of white paint and I'm gonna fill it in, but I'm pulling in the paint that's in the edge. So it's actually just making it all look blue. I'm making sure to leave a dark outline. Okay, so you see, so it looks like it's going from darker to lighter. the ratio, assuming of dark to light. So I'm doing just really just quite a thick line on the outside, then cleaning off my brush, and the rest some white. If you don't have space for the actual for this pillar, this tunnel, don't do it. Like what's not there, people don't notice. It's still going to look great. Or try to squeeze a small one in, but if you really can't fit a small one in, don't worry, just don't do it. No one, like it could just be that the pillar's hiding it. You can't see it. You know, there's no right or wrong. Okay, so it should look something like this. You see how it's going from darker to lighter. Okay, so we've got that here too. On the original, we've got the two tunnels darker around the outside and getting lighter towards the middle. It just looks like it's sort of lit up inside. Okay. Yes, tomorrow's also painting. It's a different painting though. I'll quickly show you at the end what we're doing for whoever wants to join. Okay, so once we've done the tunnel, I'm just going to show the next thing so that you don't have to clean your brush. If you haven't finished the tunnel, stop a second and watch, because this is just such an easy thing. It's just better to do it all together. We're going to do the 4 windows over here. You see some 4 windows here. It doesn't have to be 4, whatever you have space for. It could be 3. I don't even know how much there are really there, so don't worry about this. Just do, like we did before, a rectangle just by doing a brush stroke. 1, 2, 3, 4. It can get a little bit bigger as it's coming nearer to us, just to help a 3D effect. I don't even think, here, let me make this one a drop bigger. Okay, and then I'm going to take, remember how we took a tiny bit of white from the edge of the white, tiny little bit just on the edge. I want to make sure there's really not too much so that it's really thin. And I'm just going to, like we did over here, just do the top and the side in white. I got a bit of paint there. I'm not even worried about it. It's all going to get covered. Okay, the top and the side. Okay, that just makes them stick out, and we've got a wall that is really nice 3D. I'm gonna wait a few minutes. Let me know when you are ready, when this is all done. When I ask if it's ready, it's for people who are painting along, obviously. Okay. Some people are saying they're ready. I'm gonna wait another minute or two. And once this is done, this is the hardest part of the painting done. Like you saw, it was really not as hard as it might look, but that was genuinely the hardest part. So after this, the rest is quite a bit easier. There's much less details. It's the 3D-ness of the pillars that people find difficult. I'm just going to show you here. So some people find like the red, if your red over here is on top of your red, then what you can do is like what I've done here is just giving it a blue line there to help it stand out a bit better. So if you want, you can, using the method I showed you of holding your brush sideways, you could make such a thin blue line. Okay, we're good. This was quite hard. There was quite a lot in it, so I'm going to wait another couple of minutes. Okay, I'm getting a few messages already. Anyone else saying they're ready? Can we move on? Okay, it looks like people are ready. Okay, so now what we're gonna do for this, we're now doing the Kaisel. Okay, so we're gonna do dark blue along the top and the side. Then we're gonna do red going to orange, going to yellow, the opposite direction of what we did here. Okay, and then that yellow is gonna meet the blue at the end. So okay, I'm going to take some dark blue. I'm just going to do a little bit. And near the top, now we're going to try to get this straight line here. We want to make sure at this point we left no white canvas left. So I'm going to even make it go over the sky a little bit, just so I can make sure that I've got no white left. I'm going to use plenty paint. Okay. I need to add a bit of water to mine. It's a bit thick. I'm using the flat brush still. Okay, like I said, this painting uses mostly the flat brush. Okay, and I'm going to do about the top quarter of the Kaisel in this dark navy color. And I'm going to do the right corner, the right side also. I'm going to bring this blue down. Okay, all the way down to the bottom. Okay, I'm just adding a bit of water because for some reason the paint isn't spreading as far as I'd like. So I've just added a bit of water, but not too much. Don't forget, if you're painting the side of your canvas, to do that the whole time. So you would paint the sides now. I'm going to clean my brush from the blue. I really don't want any blue on my brush for this next part. In fact, to make my life easier, I'm going to switch to my other brush. Okay. And I'm going to take some red paint. Okay. So like I told you, we're doing exactly what we did here, but the other way around. So I'm going to do some red. It's going to go over the blue, all the way down. This time we want the line pretty straight, because this time we don't want to cover the wall that we've already done. I'm going to do it about a third down. I'm finding now I'm having to add more water than I did at the beginning, because my paint is drying out a little bit on the plate. Not too much, but that's why I normally don't like to take out too much at a time. So you see, I'm just going to dip it in a drop of water. Not too much because I don't want it to drip, but I'm going to get this a third the way full. Again, always in the direction of the perspective line. So down, straight up. Clean the brush. I'm saying this quickly because you did it all already. If you really know what you're doing, just start already. Taking some yellow, and I'm going to, with the yellow, drag some red out to make an orange section. And then clean the brush again, because we want this next yellow section to be really quite yellow, nice and bright. And we're going to do just yellow. And we're just going to, first, before I even touch the blue too much, I don't want everything to turn green. So I'm going to just be careful about it just going, again, it's yellow. Don't worry if a bit of orange comes through, but overall, as you can see, even though the orange has come through over here, we've still got an overall yellow section. Bit of blue got there. I'm not letting it spread too much. It will be okay soon, as long as I don't turn my whole yellow into green. Okay, and now that all the yellow's done, I can fill in this bit and make it, if it goes a little bit green, that's totally fine. But you saw how I left the white space first, because if I would have done that straight away, my blue would have got into all of my yellow and made all my yellow green. We do want to still have a yellow section. Okay, so it's pretty much the same as what we did on the other side, just reflected. And with the blue, we don't want the colors too straight. You see how it's a jagged line here? That's fine. So someone's saying the blue's going into the yellow. So just be careful to try to not let it go too much. If it's going in, don't keep spreading it and trying to cover it. Wait for it to dry before you add yellow, and add a bit of titanium white to your yellow to help it mix in. The blue didn't have to be dry. It really didn't have to be dry because we don't mind having a bit of a green section as long as we try to have a yellow section. And again, if you don't have a yellow section, don't panic. It's still going to look nice. If it just goes like straight from orange to green, don't worry. But just don't keep blending, trying to overfix, because sometimes that's just going to make it worse. And you're just going to get the green going further and further and further in. Oh, I forgot. Someone asked what's the difference between the sky and the coastal. Good question. I forgot to do that white line that we did before. So just quickly all watch a second if you can. And just like we did over here, using a drop of white to make it thin, a thin white line, we're just going to make this white line near the top. Thanks to whoever asked that question, because I forgot about it. See how a little bit of white goes a really long way. Okay, and that white just helps it look like it's glowing, and then we see the difference between the sky and the coastal. Okay, we good? It's a big section to cover, so I'm going to wait. Okay. We're not getting any questions. Maybe if a few of you could let me know if you're ready. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing, the bricks, like we did here, but this time we want to really focus on having bigger bricks near the bottom and small bricks near the top, because that's like at the coastal, there's the extra bricks that were added later in smaller bricks near the top and big bricks near the bottom. So we're going to use our thick brush for the bottom ones. We're going to do the same technique as before. We're just going to add, the brush is all dirty, obviously. So I'm just going to clean that. We're going to add some big bricks here. Now you can't really see them. So if I get a drop of blue on him, then we can see them. Okay, could get some yellow bricks on the red. We want to make sure that we can actually see them on each color. I don't have enough yellow there, it's not showing up. And white, remember how nice the white looked. Okay, and I'm avoiding the blue part at the top for now. Okay, for now I'm using my thickest brush. They're much fatter bricks than what we've got going on here. Okay, I'm gonna make some white, oh, that's too much white, but I'm gonna make some whitish bricks here too. I'm just mixing all the colors, but still trying to keep it going from red to yellow, red to orange to yellow to blue. Okay. Okay, I really like white bricks. I really find they really make it glow. Like we said before, the really nice shining coastal. Okay, again, avoiding that bit at the top. Using a drop of blue in these bricks, but not too much, because the blue really can like take over very quickly and become dark. I'd much rather overuse the white than overuse the blue. Okay, but don't want to completely overuse the white. There's a bit of red here. And I'm not really cleaning my brush so much between colors, and that's what's giving it this sort of, it's bringing all the colors together. Okay, and even on this blue part, I'm doing bricks, white ones. In the blue, the white bricks look really the nicest. Okay, I'm just doing them randomly. I'm just going to do it quickly. I'll show you in the original what it looks like when you take your time and do it really carefully. So here I've actually only done white bricks here, and here I put a little bit of white, but mostly it's just the reds and the yellows. But I do like to have it both ways. Either way could be nice. There's no right or wrong. And then I'm going to switch paintbrush. I'm going to quickly rinse this one off because I don't want the paint to dry on it. I'm going to switch to I didn't clean this one. My thinner one. In fact, I'm going to my thinnest. It's even thin. I haven't used this one yet today. Okay, someone's saying, wait. I'm just saying the next bit because it's really the same thing, okay? So I'm going to say it and then you can just do it all in one go. So just watch. I'm taking my thinnest flat brush. This can also work with a round brush. And I want to make the same thing at the top, but smaller bricks, just because we've got small bricks at the top of the coastal, okay? So I'm just doing little thin small bricks. Oh, look, it's picked up a bit of red up there. That's nice. Doing it mostly white because on the blue, that's what looks the nicest. But even though I'm doing it white, I accidentally got some red paint on it, but it's a happy accident. Okay, make sure you're laying them on in like the sort of way bricks might be laid on top of each other. It shouldn't look too much like a grid. And the whole time adding a bit of water. So it helps my white be quite a bit see-through so I can see that it's white, but I can also see that it's blue under. Okay, something like that. And I'll show you the original. So in the original, we've got it like that. You see, smaller bricks near the top. Yeah. Someone says they started doing blue in the middle. Let it dry. Don't try to blend it out. It's not going to go. Blue is such an overpowering color. If you're going to try to blend it away, you're going to mix it up. Just let there be a bit of blue in the middle. Let it go. Let it dry. And then you can, once it's completely dry and you're sure the blue is dry, and it takes a few minutes. If you're using acrylic paints, it really takes a few minutes, unless you're using oil paints, and then it takes like a week. So then you can't wait for it to dry. But if you're using acrylic paints, just let it dry. See if you can cover it up. If you can't, just let it be. Work with that. Make as if that's what you wanted. Put the bricks over the blue. You know, I did a few blue bricks in the middle too. It looks fine. Okay, waiting a couple minutes again. I really don't want anyone to be stressed that I'm going too fast and they can't keep up. But at the same time, I don't want people to just get frustrated that they're waiting too long. So really working to balance the two. So someone's saying they're ready. And someone's saying, please wait. Okay, we'll wait another couple minutes then. Can the stones be slightly round? Sure, they can be. And yeah, they can be however you want. In the actual coastal, some of them, because of age, they're a bit weathered. So that's totally fine. I mean, if you look at mine, they're really not even perfect at all. It's like we spoke about before about giving the illusion that you're looking at bricks, even though this is not even the shape or the size or the proportion of what the bricks are, but because our minds sort of know what the coastal looks like. So we fill in all the details and we're like, oh, this is the coastal. And then especially when we're going to have the men davening there, it's going to really help. Like our minds are really wonderful things and they can just fill in all the blanks. So the details don't need to be exact at all. I'm not gonna do a tour of the art room at the moment because it's just my iPad is set up really. If I move it, I'm scared I'm going to lose it. So I'm not going to. Maybe at the end, for whoever wants to stay, I'll give a quick tour, but like not too much because it's not all of it is as tidy as I'd like. Anyway, I think we're ready. Just trying to see if the persons who told me to wait, if they are ready. The ones who asked me to wait haven't yet. I think someone's asked to see the picture again. So whilst we're waiting, I'll show you the original again. This is the original. It's always like this. The one that I paint when I'm giving instructions is never going to be as detailed. That's why it is good to look at the original to get ideas of what it should look. And then you can decide how detailed you want to go. If you want to go like the original, or if you want to go like the one I'm showing now. Okay. I'm going to show you at the end what we're doing tomorrow. Okay, I think we're going to go on. We're going to do our big clusters of bush. So for this, we need our round brush. I'm going to use my bigger round brush, but it's not my biggest actually. This is my biggest round brush. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use this. So just to give you an idea, this is the one I'm using. I've got one for the people that's really nice and small. Now, if you only have one this size, don't worry, this is going to work for the people. Okay. Someone's still asking me to please wait. So no problem. I'm going to wait another minute. And all this session, we're finishing in the next, I think, 15, 20 minutes. Maximum. Okay. So to do our green clusters of bush, which I'll just quickly show you what I mean. There's big plants. Sorry. There's big plants growing out. These little clusters growing out of the kaisel. This is the first time we are actually going to mix on our plate. I'm just going to find, this is dry side here. This area is dry paint. So I actually don't mind to use that. I'm going to use a tiny little bit of blue because it's such a dark blue. We need much less blue than yellow to make this green. You see how I used much, much more yellow, probably 3 or 4 times the amount of yellow than blue. Now, when you're mixing, try to keep it in a little pile in the middle. The more you spread it out, the faster it's going to dry. Okay, just mix that together. And with this color, I'm going to just dot on. Like I'm going to do dots to make clusters of bushes. Now, really try not to make these too big. We don't want to overpower the whole painting. So I'm going to do something over here, just a few dots, just dotting it on in the shape of a tree. Okay, a smaller one over here. Really don't overdo this, okay? We don't want this to take away our focus. I've got 5, maybe I'll make a 6th one here. So I've got the really small one. So I like to always have one that's bigger than the rest, but all the rest are really quite small. Okay, I'm going to show you the next bit because it does need to stay wet for this next bit. And just to make, even the clusters of bush are 3D. So I'm going to take with the tip of my round brush, because even though it's a round brush, it's got a tip. You see, I'm trying to see if you can see it. See, I haven't even cleaned my brush. I'm going to take the tiniest little bit of blue onto there. And I'm going to, let me just think about this, over the top and the side, just dot in some dark blue, and it's going to touch the greens. It's just going to turn the green into darker green. Okay, I'll bring that closer so you can see. Okay, so I've done it on that one already. Take the tiniest dot of blue, and on the top and the side, add a bit. On the smaller ones, this is harder, so if you want to do just the top, that's fine. Okay, because even the clusters of bushes, we want them to look 3D. We don't want them to just look like bits of paint on the wall. And then we're going to do white. So a tiny dot of white on the tip of my brush. That's even too much. And I'm going to do just the bottom of each cluster. Okay. It also just helps them pop out, that we can see them against the wall. Okay, but you see I'm all the time doing it in dots, and these dots just give it that messy look of leaves. I had one up here that I've forgotten about. Okay, put it down. Okay, so you see we've got little clusters of bushes. Can't see a difference in the ceiling. I think you mean the difference between the wall and the sky. Did you do yet this white thin line at the top? That really thin white line just helps to differentiate. It makes it look like the top of the wall has a bit of a shine on it, and it differentiates between the wall and the sky. And we did that with our flat brush holding it sideways. That's how we did it. There's no right or wrong way, like I always say. Don't worry if you use a thin brush instead. And don't forget to clean brushes that you're not using, so that when you need them, you don't have dry paint on it. Okay, I think you should be done with that part already. If anyone's not done, speak up. Otherwise, I'm gonna go on to the floor because we want to start finishing off, which is just the floor left to do, and then we're done. Okay, we're gonna do the floor now. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for our flat brush. Okay, we want our smaller flat brush, not the smallest. I just keep assuming you've all got the same brushes as me, so you just use your initiative to think which one you want. I'm gonna use a medium-sized flat brush. And we're gonna take some dark blue here, okay? Now we're gonna use this to make a sort of zigzag movement. Okay, and we're gonna do blue on the side. Now we can just straighten this off first, just to make that line straight. And then we're just gonna do side to side. Just fill this all the way in, okay? And we're gonna do the same on the other side. Now on this side, just be a bit more careful to not cover our panels, our pillars. We're gonna go side to side. Okay, so can you see how I'm holding my brush sideways? So I'm getting this sort of zigzaggy look. And then we're gonna work from the middle out, like we did here, that we did first the sides and then we worked from the middle out. So we're gonna now take some red paint, and underneath where the red is, we're gonna, again, just square this off, make sure it's a nice straight line. And I'm gonna hold my paintbrush sideways again to make it thin, and this just helps it really look nice and sort of like a reflection, the floor. Maybe, I don't know if it's on a wet day or it's just shining out, no, use your imagination. Okay. So I'm just doing side to side. I am noticing my paint is drier, so I'm just adding a tiny bit of water. I don't want it to be runny. I just want it to go smoothly. I'm just doing it all the way to the bottom. Okay, I'm doing the whole floor now. I'm not stopping in between because it's important that it's wet for the colors to blend nicely together. Okay, cleaning my brush, not too much. Taking a little bit of yellow paint and going to do the orange section now, not the yellow section, the orange section. So just by going over the two colors, so I'm doing it just with yellow, but my red is still so wet. So like I told you, like we need to do it quick so that it's so it's still wet, so it doesn't dry, so that we can still make a nice orange section. And then just don't forget on this side to go around the pillar really nicely. And I haven't left very much space on this side for the plain yellow section. It's not a problem. Okay, cleaning my brush again, this time a little bit more thoroughly. And taking just plain yellow paint and going to do it like that. So it's going to get a bit of orange in it, but overall it looks a bit yellow because it's just much more diluted. And again, I'm not letting it touch the blue just yet because I don't want my yellow to all turn green. I do mind a bit of it turns green, but I don't want it to all turn green. So here I'm going to have to be a bit more careful because it's a smaller area that I've left myself. Okay, and when that's all done, I'm going to actually let the yellow go over the blue to get the yellow to blend nicely. In fact, I'm going to let it go quite far over the blue. And I just want it to look like liney. If you see, it's that's why I'm doing this side to side look, to give it this liney effect, as if the floor is like wet and reflective, and looks really nice. Okay. We good? Okay, so what colors you need for the colors for tomorrow, I'll say at the end, I'll just go through it really quickly, but you can also just message me or message the organizers to check which colors you need. And when someone asks what the pillows are for, I don't know what you mean. If you mean these, it's actually like the trees. I don't know if that's what you were referring to as the pillows. Okay, good, gonna wait a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm gonna continue on so that people who just want to finish already can. And then I'm gonna stay here for a few minutes so that anyone who's still busy, can, still message me. If it looks like the rainbow, it is just rainbow colors, actually. That's what's really cool about it. But if you've done it in the correct lines and everything, it should just look like it's glowing. Like the rainbow colors do just make things look like it's glowing. You do want the colors to mix into each other so that it doesn't just look like stripy. Okay. And then we're just going to take, using that same zigzag effect, a tiny bit of white, and we want a bit of a reflection from the tunnel. So I'm just going to do some zigzag lines coming down from the tunnel to make the light from there look like it's shining down. I'm going to do that on both. And then with whatever white is left over on my paintbrush, I'm just going to add a few random white lines here and there. That should also like take away a little bit the rainbow look, make it look more shiny. Just some white little lines all over. Okay. And again, I'm going to quickly continue because I think some people want to finish already, and then I'm going to stay here. So if anyone isn't finished yet, don't worry about it. Okay, so just hold on a minute. I'm going to take now my thinnest brush. Remember, I told you I've got one really thin brush for the people. So that's what I'm going to take. If you don't have a thin brush, don't worry about it. Take your round brush. Normally the round brushes taper off into a point, you see? So just if you press really softly, you should be able to get a nice thin line. So I'll show you that in a minute. I'm just going to show you what the people look like. So I'm going to take a little bit of blue paint on here. Okay. And I'm going to dip it also into a drop of white, just a tiny bit. And I'm going to just do little sticks. Sometimes I'm going to pull it down. So some are going to end up being more white than others. Near the coastal itself, I'm going to have them really crowded around. And as it gets further away, so you see I've just had to re-dip the paint. So some of them really came out as white people. It's fine. We've got people in tallis, we've got people in suits. Who cares? Like I said, we're just doing a stick and somehow the mind fills in exactly what they're seeing. Okay, so I've got near the coastal quite a lot of people. I'm going to make another person in the tallis here because it looks nice to have them all mixed up. So I'm using the blue here, the really dark blue. And then I'm going to have a few, like the people further away. And I'm turning the brush the whole time, so it's different colors with each brush stroke, even though it's the same brush. Okay. Okay, so something like that. I'll show you the original again. Oh, I was going to show you how to do it with this brush. So I'm just going to dip it into the blue paint, just wetting mine because my blue paint's a bit dry. Dipping it into the blue paint, just getting it near the end. And I'm just really softly pressing, barely pressing. And if you look, I'm able to get a really thin line, even though it's with a fatter brush. Okay, and again, I've done no details, but because we know this is the coastline, we know what we're doing. And we've all been there, most of us anyway. We've all seen pictures of it for sure. Our mind knows exactly what we're seeing. It sees the little lines, it sees the wall. It's like, oh, coastal for sure. See? So, okay, just going through a few questions. Can the brush be tiny or should it be the same size as yours? It can be tiny. If it's too tiny, you almost won't see them. I wouldn't go too tiny, but it can be just how you feel. Can you repeat how to do the people, please? I think I repeated it since you asked the question, but just in case, it's just taking some blue with a drop of white and doing little lines, little sticks. And someone asked, do you make them bigger the nearer you get to the edge of the canvas? Yes, I forgot to mention that. So over here, they're going to be smaller, and obviously nearer the edge of the canvas, it's going to be bigger because they are nearer to you. Not too big. Don't make them like these big blobs, because then it's like, if they're too big, it looks confusing why we haven't done any more details. So they're still quite small. They're just further. They're just nearer. I mean, they're still far, just not as far as the ones next to the coastal. And there's one more thing that's still left to do once the people are done. And that is the most important thing to do on any painting, which is obviously to sign your name, because we want to be proud. We want everyone to see your beautiful artwork and be proud of what you've done. So you're just gonna I have more space here, so I'm gonna do it here. You can do it on this side. I'm gonna do it with white just because it's on the blue, so it will stand out better. But do whatever color you want, really. I'm just gonna do. You could do just your initials, or you could do your whole name. Use your thinnest brush for this. Or you could wait for it to dry and do it with a marker, but I really like the look of it being with paint, even if it doesn't come out perfect, but that's part of the beauty of it. Okay, and then you're done. If anyone has any more questions, let me know, and then I'll quickly let you know what if you're joining tomorrow, what you're going to need. And I'll just give a quick view of what's in Art Room, even though it's a bit of a mess at the moment. Can we see the original? Someone's asking. So here's the original. I'm just trying to hold it straight. It's a bit hard. Okay, but I think you see the same thing, just a slightly simplified version and slightly painted from the side rather than face on. But I think you get the idea. Okay, for those asking, my name is Avigails Gruzman. And I teach art here in Antwerp, where I live, and I also do Zoom sessions like you've all seen. So yeah, you're welcome to contact me if anyone's interested. Someone's asking me if does everyone come out different? Yes, everyone comes different. When I paint it, and I've done this multiple times, no two times that I've done it have it come the same. And also everyone comes out different because you're different artists. When we paint with our personality shows through, without us realizing our personality shows through, and our mood of the day shows through. So no two are going to be the same. And just because yours isn't the same as someone else that you see doesn't make it wrong, which is actually the beauty of when we're doing it on Zoom. Sometimes when I do it in a room and I tell one person, oh, look, yours is great. And then I tell the person next to them, yours is great. And then they look at me, they're like, but ours are so different. How can they both be good? And they sort of don't trust me. And I say, hey, just because they're not the same doesn't mean one is wrong. It just means they're different. Some people are asking for my number. I'll just quickly say it out loud and then if you don't catch it, you can contact the organizers. My number is 0032 for Belgium, and then 488-920-954. So 0032 488-920-954, and my email address is avigail@gruzman.be. So really simple. Avigail, you can see how it's spelled, at Gruzman, GRUZMAN.be. And you can follow me on Instagram if you've got Instagram, at Avigails Art Loft with like underscore. You'll just find, if you search Avigails Art Loft, you'll find me. And those are ways you can contact me. And those are also ways you can contact me to show me, if anyone wanted to show me a picture to see where they went wrong, just send it to me. So I'll say the number again, 0032-488-920-954. Send me a WhatsApp with a picture or an email, and I will see if it's how you can fix it. I'm going to quickly tell you what we need for tomorrow. We are doing, the iPad's going to move a bit here. We're doing this for tomorrow. So it's a more summery theme. Summer holidays, beach, iced tea, really nice and fun and refreshing. Okay, someone's asked for my number again, 0032-488-920-954. 0032-488-920-954. Okay, this is what we're painting for tomorrow. So I'm going to tell you what you need. You need a sky blue color. So if you look, you can see how much lighter it is than that. Then a beige and a brown, or just two shades of brown is also good, but a beige and a brown, a nice warm brown, because the brown is we're going to use in the sand and in the tea. A yellow. And then if you're going to do the lime, a green also. You need white and black. So this is quite a few more colors. You need a white and a black. And then if you're going to want a red starfish, you can get red. If you don't want so many colors, the starfish can be any color. So you could just repeat any colors. So basically the most important colors is the sky blue, beige and brown, yellow, white and black. All other colors are just for additional. And this is a really fun one where there's loads of movement for like adding your own flair to it. I've had people add a cupcake here. I've had people do different colored drinks, maybe an umbrella in the straw. If you have, the more colors you have, the more you can add your own spin to it. So it's gonna be really fun. So that's what we're doing for tomorrow. And just for whoever's still here who really wanted to see around the room, we have, please excuse the mess, but in the spirit of honesty, we've got here some paintings that I've done, some artworks that my kids did in lockdown, some that they're still preparing to paint. This is my storage area. There's IKEA shelves with all the different things I have, all pictures and things, pencil color, all different mediums. Each shelf has its own medium. Got these CD shelves over here full of my paints, which is not even full at the moment because I'm moving them around. This is people's favorite part of the art room, is the, I guess we call it the wall of fame, where the students, my students who are here, are allowed to sign the wall, even the radiator. We're a little nuts here. So they each sign their name. Over here, we've got the fabulous saying by Picasso, all children are artists. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. Most true words I've ever heard. All the signatures. Over here, we've got some paintings of some of my students, my adult students' work. That's a really emotional piece of 9/11. This is something where my student comes from in America, so it means a lot to her. Then we've got here on the other side, it's actually, a lot of people tell me when they come in here, oh, I didn't realize how big it is. It's quite big. It doesn't look so big always in the pictures. We've got here the painting that I'm just working on, one of the paintings that I'm working on, almost finishing. It's of the backyard mignon. It's someone's own minion, and she asked me to paint it to remember it always. And here we've got shelves of students' paintings. Some of these were started before lockdown and never finished. Some more here, it's really a mess. I'm like trying to avoid the messy areas, but here are some other paintings that haven't been finished. This one actually of the husband color is being finished. It's really coming out nice. This one, my daughter's in the middle of doing, she asked me to give her private lessons. And what else? Here, I'll show you another painting that I'm just busy with. If I can get it, that's just more just Antwerp. And I've got here, this is where I keep all my supplies. Oh, there's some more paintings that I've made. This is a painting I made. That's of Knocker. Some up there, really hard to see. Yeah, this is where I keep all my stuff. Not very interesting in there. And that's a tour of my room. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to just check if there's any more questions. Thank you very much. Wow. Yeah, if you want to get hold of me through WhatsApp, you can, but just maybe wait till I'm finished. And I think that's it. So if I see no one has any more questions about the painting itself, so we're going to end it here. Okay, someone asked to see again tomorrow's picture, so I'm going to quickly show it to you again. This is what we're doing tomorrow. Nice, refreshing, summery picture. For those of us who aren't able to go to the beach this year, at least we can go there virtually. Anyway, have a lovely evening. Have a lovely holiday. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And yeah, have a lovely evening.